Hi everybody. So, quick video here to provide a solution to the challenge question on our first online quiz that we took on sections 4.1 and 4.2. A few of you got this one, but almost everybody missed it. So I wanted to just make a quick solution video here so that you could see what I was thinking. So the reason I made this a challenge question, I guess, is exactly why a lot of you missed it. So we have at the university, we have a, let's recall the question. So we have a university hospital with wards A, B, C, D, and oh no, what did we say? Wards ECU, ICU, MU, PU, and SU. Intensive care unit, maternity unit, pediatrics unit, and surgery. Okay. And so these wards have university hospital with wards, those with beds here. So why don't I make this into a table? So here we'll have number of beds, 11, 9, 20, 15, and 20. So this is a total of how many beds? 75 beds. So 75 beds total. 150 nurses to be apportioned amongst the wards. So this is kind of the trick is, as soon as you see the word apportioned, you know that means that the nurses are like the seats, because what do we apportion? We apportion seats. And so in this case, the seats are nurses. Why don't I say a little arrow like that? Seats are nurses. Population is a number of beds now, because our states are our wards. So we have 5 states, and the population of those states is the number of beds they have them in them, and we're apportioning the nurses. We're apportioning the nurses based on the number of beds. Based on number of beds. Okay. States are wards. Okay, so what does that mean for us? That means that we have M is the number of seats, is the number of nurses. And remember, we had 150 nurses. Population P is 75. And each of the little P sub i's are listed here. And the number of states is 5. So we don't need to write that. So if the first thing we want to do is calculate the standard divisor, right? And the standard divisor is the total population divided by the number of seats, which is P over M, which here, this is exactly where a lot of you got mixed up. Don't mix up which one's which. I know we would like to put the bigger number on top usually, but in this case, the number on top is the smaller number, 75. So this is 75 over 150, which is actually 1/2 or 0.5. So this is what messed a lot of people up, I think, was the calculating the standard divisor, and you thought, well, that's weird. We haven't seen a standard divisor of 1/2 or 0.5 before, but actually there's no reason why that can't be the case. We're just using the standard divisor to calculate other things, and if it so happens that the standard divisor is a fraction, that's fine. We can still do everything as we normally would. So now we remember that the standard quotas are Q sub I is the state's population over the standard divisor. So this is the number of beds in a ward over 0.5. Okay, so now we got to remember, dividing by 0.5, I mean, you can just plug it into your calculator, but you can also think about dividing by a fraction. So if we have, let's calculate, let's just do our first one. So why don't I copy our table, and I'll bring it down here. Okay. So remember here we had ward, number of beds, and underneath that we're going to have our standard quota. So when we calculate the standard quota, let's see. What are we going to get? Why don't I erase this bit on the bottom? So the standard quota for the ECU is going to be the number of beds, that state's population, 11, divided by 0.5. Now another way we can think about this is 11 divided by 1/2. And if you remember the rules for dividing by fractions, you flip the denominator and multiply. So this is the same thing as 11 times 2 over 1, which is 22. So remember, dividing by 1/2 is the same thing as multiplying by 2, and so ECU gets 22. Similarly, because we're just dividing by 0.5 each time, which is the same thing as multiplying by 2. So again, the quota for the ICU is going to be 9 divided by 0.5, which is the same thing as 9 times 2, which is 18. So 18 there. Sorry, that wouldn't look nice. 18 there. Double it again, 40, 30, and 40 again. And now what do we get when we sum all of these numbers up? Well, 40 and 30 makes 70, and 40 makes 110, and then 22 and 18 makes 40, so we get 150, which is exactly what we wanted. We want all of the standard quotas to add up to the number of nurses which we have to give away. So we have 150, to apportion between the wards. So we have 150 nurses, and we're going to send 22 of them to the ECU, 18 of them to the ICU, 40 of them to the maternity unit, 30 of them to PU, and 40 of them to surgery. And so that's good. So we don't even need an apportionment method. So we need no apportionment method. Here. Because everything adds up nicely. Okay, so that's that.